We said aloha to our portrait of Queen Liliuokalani. It's a portrait that's been in the Blue Room for several decades now. A beautiful portrait of our queen. So she's headed to the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. to tell Hawaii's story. It's all part of an exhibit, 1898 American Imperium, and it's Puerto Rico, Guam, Philippines, and Hawaii. And when you walk into that exhibit, the very first thing you're going to see is this beautiful portrait of Liliuokalani and Hawaii, her story.
So the exhibit is really looking at the year 1898 because of the international explosion of U.S. military and congressional action all over the world to add territory under the U.S. dominion. Specifically, they're looking at Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, and Hawaii. Very fortunate that Dr. Kate LeMay, who is one of the curators on this exhibition, made a stop here in Hawaii to look at some of the institutional holdings here that she thought would help move the story forward. And as she came and she visited, she looked at quite a few of the number of objects. And the one thing she kept coming back to that stood out of all the institutions all over the world that she visited was Her Majesty's portrait. She said absolutely that is one of the most stunning things she had seen.
In order to prepare her for this journey, a wonderful company called Crozier that does nothing but deal with artwork and things such as that came in. They had already come in previously to measure the portrait, to take a look at it, to have people come and look at the portrait and the frame to make sure what was needed to be restored and so forth. And they built these special boxes just for this painting so that it can safely be taken to the continent. It was an all-day ordeal to take that portrait off the wall and to basically put her into this special box that can safely carry her. She'll be restored. Actually, the portrait itself is in really good condition. It's the frame that's going to be restored.
The portrait in particular was a little bit more of a delicate subject because it is so important to the people of Hawaii that one of the requirements of my institution as the custodian of record is if the people of Hawaii were going to be without it, they had to receive something in return. And in this case, we asked that they really clean and restore the painting so that it can look as it did when it was originally created. So what they're going to do is, after a very careful analysis, they saw that the canvas itself is in really good shape. So we're very lucky on that standpoint. It doesn't need stretching, it just needs a very light cleaning. The frame, on the other hand, has not fared quite so well. So they're going to demount the canvas from the frame and then send the frame to one of the finest restorers on the East Coast. They're going to stabilize the frame, they're going to strengthen it, and then they're going to re-gild it. So when it does come back, it will be looking just absolutely beautiful. This is a really unique opportunity because the federal government is telling this story of this American imperialist expansion under the guise of spreading democracy, but focusing on the impact it had on the local populations. They're being able to tell a story that we never could. They're expecting 1 million people to come by and see this.
It means a lot to us to be able to share her story. She made many trips to Washington, D.C. following the overthrow and the counter-revolution and trying to tell her story, and it fell on deaf ears in many ways. And now this may be the most important trip she takes to D.C. as her story is told, this time by the federal government with the Smithsonian. So it'll be interesting to see the story and to see the reaction from people as they learn the history of Hawaii that more and more people are learning today. So for us, it's that story that we share at the palace, that we share to people who come to visit, is now being shared on another higher venue, you want to say, to hundreds of thousands of people. So it means a lot to us to be able to share that story. We're going to miss her, though.
So